Okay, is the death penalty biblical? Obviously, my answer to that question is yes, it is. The death penalty is biblical. I'll give you God's position on it. I'll give you the creation covenant, which Anna alluded to a little bit. The sanctity of life. What does the sanctity of life mean? The moral principles and the Old Testament laws. And finally, what does the New Testament affirm? Before, let me clear up a little confusion, which Anna also alluded to in the beginning. Question, how can I be pro-life and be for the death penalty? We both agree that it's a completely different issue. Abortion, which is, somebody who's against abortion is pro-life, is the killing of an innocent human being. The capital punishment, which is the death penalty, is the killing of a guilty human being. Big difference. We're not debating over abortion, that's murder. Nobody is for murder here. We're debating what to do with the murderer. Should we execute the murderer or not? What does God say about that? What is God's position on that? From the very beginning, God gave us His position. He said in Genesis 9, which is the one she quoted, "Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed." Why? For the image of God He made man. That is the creation covenant. Let's look at it. Let's take some points before we look at it in context. Genesis 9 was given to Noah after the flood as a reinstitution of the creation covenant to all of mankind. In this context, this is just a repetition of what God had said to Adam and Eve. In fact, to all of mankind, to be fruitful and multiply and have dominion over the earth. And again, this is not a covenant just for the Jewish nation, or just for Christians, or just for God's people. This is to all of mankind. The principle of life for life, which is what we just read, was given in the creation covenant to all of mankind before the Mosaic law. Let's look at it in context. Let's read from verse 1. We read, "And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth," and so on. Verse 6 says, "Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed." Why? For in the image of God He made man. The argument that God makes for capital punishment is an appeal to the sanctity of life. The sanctity of life, it rests on the very image of God. To commit murder is to destroy the very image of God. Murder is a capital crime and deserves the capital punishment. Capital punishment was instituted here by God to preserve life, which makes it pro-life to the extreme, to whatever it takes. The 10 Commandments are not just rules or regulations that we follow. These are principles, enduring moral principles. Some might argue, what about the 4th commandment? We don't worship on the Sabbath. We keep the Sabbath in principle. That's why we go to church on Sunday. This principle of life for life is seen throughout the Old Testament, as Anna pointed out a little bit. Exodus 21, anyone who strikes a man and kills him shall surely be put to death. Leviticus 24, if anyone takes the life of a human being, he must be put to death. Numbers 35, Deuteronomy 19, and so on. Now let's look at the Old Testament laws and moral principles. There's a difference. There were civil laws, ceremonial laws, and moral principles. The civil laws were like, you have to plant crops this way and this and that. Ceremonial laws were like, this is how we worship, this is how we sacrifice lambs. It was pointing to Jesus Christ. It was just a shadow of the reality was Jesus Christ. The moral principles are something that we all keep. Life for life, do not commit adultery, and so on. Civil and ceremonial laws were for a specific people for a specific time. Moral principles are given to all people for all time. What does God command and what does justice demand is the very question that we have to answer right here. God commands justice, and only justice you shall pursue, says the Lord. What is justice? Justice is getting what is deserved. That's the simplest definition of justice, and actually the definition of justice.